the third episode of that.
With
Uh,
Bill and Dawn? Is that with
no,
Bill
the
and
other one,
Dawn?
the one with the ladies, the one with Nancy, because it was not recorded on Zoom.
Oh, the one with Nancy. That was the, yeah, that was the business opportunity, the Monday one, right? Not the fireside chat.
Oh, was it?
That was the business opportunity. Yeah, that was Monday, and then Bill and Dawn did a Friday. So we're live now.
I made you co-host, Rap, so you can do the letting people in.
Yeah, I'll take care of that.
Okay, I hit record on Zoom. Okay,
For
well,
YouTube.
yeah, I'm on YouTube. I'm streaming on YouTube. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. John Haremza here, excited for another fireside chat. It is March, it's the 5th today, right? March 5th. Wow, I tell you, this year is going by crazy, crazy fast. And I am excited for tonight. I'm going to do a little experimenting. I bought this, if you've ever been to Nobu, okay, and they do this, Wagyu beef on a like a lava stone, and they pour some type of alcohol on it and it flames up. It's quite a display and just melts in your mouth. You cook it on this hot rock. And so I bought a hot rock, and I've got a beautiful piece of beef that I am going to do on this rock tonight. And so I'll probably take some videos, and you may see that on Facebook. But I'm excited to try it. Hopefully I don't burn down the house in the process. I'm going to kind of ease into I think I'm going to put vodka over it. I think that should flame up and burn nice and clean. So we'll see how that turns out. I'm excited about it though, but I'm excited for our fireside chat. Take a quick sip of coffee here before we get started. I want to, as always, open this up for questions, as I want to find out, what you guys are thinking, what questions you might have on your mind, and how I might be able to help you answer those or overcome a challenge or whatever it might be. But to kind of get us started here, I've got two things, written down that I want to talk about. Okay. The first one is a DMO. And I think if you're going to be a network marketing professional, it's very important that you establish a DMO. So, what is a DMO? It stands for daily method of operation. So the concept behind a DMO is it's so familiar. It's so routine. It's almost like brushing your teeth, getting yourself ready for the day. It just becomes a part of your life. Okay. So Jim Rohn talks about this all the time. He talks about most anything in life can be boiled down to about a half a dozen things. He says there's a million things you could do, but there's a half a dozen things that really make a difference. And if you focused on those half a dozen things, 90% of what you need to do is being done. Okay, so that's what I think a DMO, as it relates to network marketing, this DMO, this daily method of operation, a set of activities that you do every single day. You commit to them. It's routine. It's just like brushing your teeth or combing your hair, getting ready in the morning, whatever it is. So, as I look at this and think about this probably fitting in, doesn't matter really what the network marketing company is, you have a product, right? And so I think you need to use the product every single day, whatever that product may be. You need to use that product every single day, make that just as a part of your DMO. And the other thing, what do we get paid for? We get paid to talk to people, right? Talk to people that are not yet using our products, talk to people that are not yet involved in our business. I mean, at the end of the day, the only thing that's going to grow my business, grow your business, grow any one of our prospective businesses, it's new people. And so the only way you can get new people is by talking to new people. And, one of the things you also hear me say and talk about all the time is, example. Everything that we do sets that example of what others think they have to do, right? I mean, so if we're not using the products, they're not using the products. If we're not out there prospecting, if we're not out there filling our pipeline, if we're not out there recruiting, bringing people in, doing the most important activity ourselves, it's hard to get others to do it. You know, too many times I think leaders make the mistake. They get a few people in place, and then they just want to sit back and be in a supportive role. Sit back and, you know, ride their, you know, get their success saddle buffed and ride it to the top, right? You know, again, you want to constantly be doing the things you want your team to be doing. So, you know, I believe as a part of your daily method of operation, you need to prospect. I mean, whether that's one person a day, two people a day, three people a day, and, you know, or you're talking to people, you know, for other people, right? But it needs to be a part of your DMO. Filling your pipeline, you know, because the other thing that happens when you have a full pipeline is it creates a natural sense of urgency and a fear of loss, because you're now not sitting your entire month riding on one or two people that you have in a pipeline, you know, hoping that they get started, right? You have enough people looking, it creates a natural sense of urgency and a fear of loss. You know, I'd love for you to join, but if you don't, it's all right, because, you know, I've got so many more people I'm talking to right now. So that needs to be a part of your DMO. So the other thing, if we are prospecting, if we're filling our pipeline, what also needs to be a part of our DMO is we need to, you know, who do we follow up with, right? Because the fortune is in the follow-up, right? I mean, you know, another, you know, major mistake people make is they'll, you know, get a bunch of people looking at something and then they don't follow up with. And if you don't follow up on a timely basis, you know, they're going to talk themselves out of it. They're going to mention something to a coworker or to a family member. They're going to talk themselves out of it. They're going to start second guessing it. And when you have to start over with them, you're actually starting behind the eight ball, right? Now you've got to reestablish that excitement. So, you know, fortune is in the follow-up. I look at that follow-up window, 24 hours from when you've made that introduction, you need to be back in touch with them. And, you know, like we have the app, right? And the app gives you great, you know, cues to follow up because it's got notifications when somebody has reviewed something. I think most companies would have something similar to that, which gives you a great indication. Hey, the quicker you can follow up, the more success you're going to have. So the fortune is in the follow-up. When you're doing that follow-up, especially if you're brand new, and quite frankly, even if you're not brand new, because everything we do, once again, coming back to that, everything we do sets that example, what others think they have to do. When you're doing that follow-up and you're doing that utilizing the three-way phone call, right? You're creating that third-party documentation. You know, if one person says it may be, but when that other person says it, you know, it just means something more to your prospect, that third-party documentation. Of course, we know utilizing the three-way phone call, you put me on the phone with somebody, you know, I'm answering questions, I'm telling my story, I'm building a rapport, I'm moving the prospect forward. But where the magic is the information's going through your ears into your prospect's ears. So you learn the subtleties. It sets the example. Okay, so now again, coming back to that example, the prospect sees there's support, there's help, someone else. You don't need to know everything. So this three-way phone call, incredibly important, I believe, as part of your follow-up process, part of that DMO, constantly, you know, every day, you know, okay, who did I prospect yesterday? Who do I need to follow up with today? So the fortune is in the follow-up. The other thing I believe, especially once you start a team, I mean, realistically, once you start a team, you become an upline. And so I think it's important, who on your team, who are the key members on your team that you need to be touching base with on a daily basis, giving them that encouragement, checking in with them, how's your day? What can I do to help you? You know, who do you got in the pipeline? So, as a part of your daily method of operation, looking at your key members, your key people, maybe that newest person you brought in, touching base with them, that day. Make a list of everybody you need to touch base with every day that is important to your business, or maybe just needs encouragement. And then the last thing I have written down for my DMO is personal development, right? Now, personal development is, I believe, key, and I meet people, They say, I've listened to that. I don't need to listen to it again. I mean, I believe number one, personal development, it is repetition. I mean, you need to constantly be listening to it. You listen to something once, I mean, you're not getting it, right? You need to listen to it multiple times. Every time you listen to something, every time you read something, every time you watch something, you're growing, which means you're getting more out of what you're watching. You're hearing it differently. You're seeing it differently. You're reading it differently. You're getting a deeper meaning, a different understanding. So, but making personal development a part of your DMO is very important. Uh, and one of the things I think about here is I compare personal development to bathing, right? I mean, most people will bathe every day. They'll take a bath, they'll take a shower, whatever that is. And if you don't, right? I mean, you might be all right, after a day or two, but you start entering into day 3, and somebody's going to notice. Somebody's going to notice that you're starting to smell. Same with DMO. Your attitude, your edge, just your presence, your energy is going to start to fade. And so I think it's important to do a daily method of operation. Yesterday I shot a video, and it's going to be put up on YouTube here probably in the next week or so. But the video was a virtual video that is going to be played at the Business for Home event coming up. I think it's April 4th, 5th, and 6th. It's a 2 or 3 day event. Some of the biggest network marketers in the world are going to be speaking. It's all going to be done virtual. Did it on a green screen, and they're basically going to take my presentation, other people's presentation, and project it onto a virtual screen. So I'm excited to see how it turns out. But I was talking about this, and this actually, the first time I heard this, and maybe it's not the first time I heard it, but it's the first time that I heard it where I'm like, that really makes sense to me. And it was at a conference. It was Nancy Carson talking about it. And she talked about the importance of preparation, the importance of, preparing yourself, importance of personal development. But then the other side of this personal development, the other side of this, preparing yourself, learning the comp plan, getting your list put together, getting your action plan, knowing the products. Part of this preparation, the other side of preparation is taking action. Be a person of action, right? And the example, and I used it in this video because I thought it was so powerful, right? Is you look at, 2 legs, right? You have your leg number 1, let's say, is personal development, right? Preparing yourself, studying the products, the comp plan, getting your list put together, getting your game plan, getting your goals, preparation, right? Preparation is important. And the mistake is that so many people make is all they do. If you think about these 2 legs, and you're preparing, and you end up walking in circles. If you think about 2 legs, you're preparing, and if all you ever do is prepare, you're spinning, you're going in circles. Then the other leg is the action leg. It's taking what you've learned, talking to people about the business, talking to people about the products, being on it's doing the business, right? And if all you do that, if that's all you do and you don't prepare, once again, you don't move forward, right? So it takes both legs, preparation, action. Preparation, action. That's what's going to move you forward. I just wanted to talk about that because, I did it yesterday in this video. It's going to be, like I said, it'll be put up on my YouTube channel as a video here, probably in the next, week or so, 10 days. But it was a profound thought that really made sense to me. And I wanted to share it with each of you because I do believe it's important to ask yourself. Matter of fact, it's kind of funny. My daughter was helping me film this, and she got it. Right? She just said, wow, that really made sense to me. And I realized that I spend most of my time preparing and studying and researching, and I need to do more action, right? It's like, I want everything to be perfect. I want to know everything before I take the action. And so I thought that was pretty, that was exciting to hear that that message became so clear to her, where she sees what she needs to work on, right? The other thing I'm going to talk about here today, and we're going to open it up here for questions right very shortly, is your story, right? Building your story. And here's a little test for you. If you're out there telling your story to people and you are not getting a response, you are not getting people interested, you are not getting people, excited to move forward, you need to look at your story, right? Most people have a challenge telling their best story, right? They go on and on about stuff that's boring and that losing people. Their eyes start darting because nobody is paying attention to you. It's like hard to pay attention to you. So you really need to get your story down hot, and or get your story down cold and deliver it hot. So getting your story down. So if anybody, I mean, you can ask me a question about anything, but if you want to explore this DMO a little bit more, explore, what makes up a great story, how to tell your story. Your story should be told with enthusiasm. It should get to the point. It needs to tell a story, right? And it needs to be compelling and exciting and something that somebody can relate to. Right. So you need to think a little bit about that. So with that, I'm gonna shut up for a moment and see if we have anybody out there on YouTube or on Facebook, or not Facebook. I guess we're just on Zoom and YouTube. But if anybody has any follow up to that, anything they'd like to ask me, I do have Rapshell monitoring YouTube. So Rapshell, maybe if there's anything coming through the YouTube channel as well, of questions or story.
Hi, John. Good morning, everyone. Yes, I've seen one. I have one here on YouTube, and here's the question for you. The question is, what is the fastest way to succeed in network marketing? I think you're the best person to answer.
Yeah, well, I mean, that leaves that's a pretty broad question, but the first thing that pops to my mind is all out massive action, right? I mean, people get excited about when you're excited. If you tiptoe into something, you're not going to get fast results. If you want to grow something fast, you need to do all out massive action. I mean, everything, every day, all day long. You need to, it needs to be a priority. You need to be living, eating, and sleeping it. It needs to be on the forefront of your thoughts. And you need to, look at, what I just outlined, this daily method of operation, these 4 things. You need to be focused on doing as much of those 5 things, that daily method of operation, as you possibly can. You have to be filling your pipeline. You have to be doing the follow-up. You need to make sure that you have a powerful story. You need to be constantly asking yourself, how are you doing? How are you doing? That you've heard me talk about this before, this personal checkup. Ask myself, how am I doing with my story? How am I doing with my 3 ways? How am I doing with getting people started? How am I doing with getting someone giving me a positive decision? How am I doing, with my presentations? All of these things that we do, you need to be asking yourself, because if you're not happy, if you're working hard, you're putting in all out massive action and nothing's happening, well, that should be alarm bells. Because especially if there's evidence of other people having success and you seem to be working hard but not having success, you're not getting the closing ratio, you're not getting things done, then you need to go back and look at and evaluate what it is you're doing. But I mean, the short answer to that question, it's all out massive actions. It's everything, every day, all day long, as much as you can. I mean, something was told to me. I wasn't told to me. I heard it. From a person who's made millions and millions of dollars in network marketing. His name's Holden Buggs, and he talked about this all out massive action. And he talked about how everybody, out there in the personal development world, or, business coaches and stuff, and they talk about, having a balanced life. And he says, if you're really building something, balance equals broke, right? If you're really building something, you need to be, I mean, if you want to get something off the ground in a hurry, if you want to really produce some energy, some results, get something moving, balance isn't the answer. You need to be working in the unbalanced world, right? And I know some people may be like, I don't know if I like that message. Well, the question was, what do I need to do to grow a business fast? And it ain't going to grow fast in a balanced world, right? You need to pour the energy on. I tell people this business is like a big flywheel, right? You really got to crank on it to get the flywheel spinning. But once the flywheel is spinning, the inertia, the momentum of the flywheel continues to carry itself. And all you have to do then is just tap it, right? You just tap it. But to get it going, it takes a lot more energy to get it going than it does to keep it going. So, I use that saying, there's two ways to build this business, fast and slow, and fast works better, right? So, I mean, it's a really great question, because if you can get off the ground, right, look at this business in 90-day spurts, 90-day, to get that flywheel going. And if you've been in the business longer than 90 days, and you haven't created that 90-day story, guess what? You can always start over. I tell people it's like an airplane. Imagine you have an airplane, and in the airplane, you start going down the runway, and let's say this airplane lifts off at 100 miles an hour. Okay, I don't know I'm not a pilot, so I don't know what it actually lifts off of, but let's just say it's 100 miles an hour. Let's say you get lift off at 100 miles an hour, right? If you only go 95 miles an hour, guess what? You're not getting off the ground. I mean, you can taxi, from here to, across the country, and you're not going to get liftoff, right? You need to have enough inertia, enough energy to get that liftoff. And you need to look at your business that way. Look at your building a 90-day story, everything every day long, and build this 90-day story. Right. And so you're saying, well, I've been in longer than 90 days. Now what do I do? Right. I've been in 6 months. I've been in 2 years. I still don't have liftoff. What do I do? Well, that's the thing. You can always go back around and make another approach. Right. And you can say, now let me tell you what's happened in the last 90 days. On March 5th, I got it. Right. And I did everything every day, all day long. I mean, we're in one of the best months of the year from a building standpoint, the month of March. March, April, May, we're talking about a 90-day runway with literally no distractions, right? A 90-day runway. This is an incredible time to get liftoff, right? And if let's go back around. Let's make another approach, and and do that personal checkup, because maybe one of the reasons you put the energy in, but you got a flat tire. Or maybe you got a flap that's not working correctly or something. So go back, do the personal checkup, make sure your story is correct. Make sure look at the things that you've been doing and see how are you doing, and how do you know how you're doing? Look at results. Look at, are you getting people interested? I mean, there's this person, and I feel bad for the person, because he literally has said, I have talked to 1,000 people and literally no one's interested. You need to look at your story you're telling. You need to look at what it is you're saying, what it is you're doing. Somehow, some way, you're not reaching people. You're, repelling people, right? I mean, it literally doesn't matter how bad your opportunity is. You talk to 1,000 people and don't get anybody in. It's not it, it's you, right? I mean, you need to really look at what it is you're doing, what you're talking about. So this personal checkup is another very, very important thing, and an incredible exercise to really look at what it is you're doing, the results that you're experiencing. And if others are having greater results in a certain area and you're not, but yet you feel you're putting the time and the energy and the work in, well, then you need to look at what it is. Talk with your upline. Find out what it is that you can do different or better. So kind of a long answer to that question, but let's go ahead. If there's anyone else has a question. Wow, 24 minutes passed already.
Hi, John. thank you for this forum. It's very helpful to ask questions. My question is relating to the story, our story. Can you give an example where you would start talking to somebody and introduce your story? You typically lead with the business, I understand. Is it applicable in the same way if you're talking about the business or you're ending up talking about products? Can you give me some how to get started tips?
Yeah. So, and there's a lot of variables here, right? Depending on, if they're warm market, if they're, cold market, if there's somebody that, you're sitting by on an airplane, somebody you're sitting in a grocery store line or, run into at the gas station. So depending on the circumstances, some people refer to it maybe as the elevator pitch, that quick story, right? But so let's just look at it from a couple different perspectives, right? So let's just say that you're talking to someone, that initial approach, I think is what you're asking. And so it's somebody you want to market. And so you give them a call or you meet them for coffee. Let's just say you in this environment, we give them a call. Again, the goal is to stimulate an interest. The goal is to stimulate an interest. You don't want to give them too much, because if you give them too much, then they're going to start prejudging it. So I'll give you an example. If I'm, I'd like, little small talk, and I would immediately say, listen, the reason for my call is I found something. I've got something. You've got to check this out. And you're going to respond back, what is it? And I'm going to say, I'm going to send you something. You need to check this out. You're not going to believe it, right? I mean, I believe you're going to see the same thing. Well, can you tell me a little bit about it? I resist telling them because I want to keep that curiosity high. I want to keep that because if you satisfy curiosity, there's no reason to look, right? If you maintain the curiosity, and you can use things like, I mean, listen, I'm not going to waste I don't like to waste my time. I'm not going to waste yours. Trust me on this. You need to check it out. I mean, you push back some more. I might say, listen, you're way too sharp. This is going to be way too big for you not to take the time to at least look. So, going into that, trying to get them to, because this kind of plays part in positioning that tool, right? Because a tool, you can have the best tool in the world, but if you tell them too much about it, and then they base the opportunity based on what you told them, they might not have an interest. They'll never look at the tool, right? If you don't tell them anything, but you maintain curiosity, they may be a little bit frustrated with you. Well, you just tell me what is going on. But if you leave that curiosity high, when you send them that tool, they're going to look at it because they want to know what the heck you're talking about. So holding yourself back from talking too much. Now, depending on that relationship, depending on what the product is, you can go into a personal story about what you've experienced with the product or the opportunity, depending on the person. But let's talk also a little bit about, because you said, do you approach with the product or do you approach with the business? Again, I kind of grew up in the network marketing world approaching that people on the business. And the reason is I thought, I think back to myself in my very, very early days of network marketing. If someone would have approached me on a nutritional product, right, I would have probably said, it sounds really good. I'm sure it's great, but it kind of sounds like a pain in the butt. I don't want to spend the money. Okay. If you approach me on the business, you see, when you approach them on the product, they're looking at, unless there's a real product interest there, a need for that product to solve one of their solutions, such as like weight loss or something. But when they're looking at it thinking, I got to spend money I'm not now spending, where if you approach them on the business, they're like, I see the potential here. Now they're looking at making money versus spending money. And hey, these products really sound great. Right. So like, weight loss coffee being one of our primary products. Right. So I actually use the product as the hook. Right. And then immediately transition into the opportunity. I mean, I could be sitting by somebody on an airplane and they might say, what do you do? and this is a great way to start a conversation. A great way to start a conversation is to ask them questions. Don't pounce on them by saying, this is what I'm doing. Let them ask you what you're doing, right? I mean, you're on an airplane and you're sitting next to somebody and say, you ask them where they're going. Do you live here or are you traveling there? Are you going home or are you going from home? So you engage in a little bit of a conversation, and then you ask them what they do. And if you ask them what they do, number one, you learn a lot, you're building that rapport, and they're inevitably going to ask you what you do. And if they don't, you can even say, I bet you wonder what I do, right? But they're going to ask you. They're going to say, what do you do? And I kind of laugh. I just kind of chuckle and I say, you're not going to believe it. I sell weight loss coffee. I mean, it's the easiest thing I've ever done, sold or talked about. Literally, you can't not sell the stuff. Now, what did that do? Think about what that leading with the product. I led with the product, but it screamed opportunity, right? A normal person listening to that may have an interest immediately in the product, but more importantly, they're going to have an interest. Easiest thing I've ever done. Literally, you can't not sell the product. I mean, when you say weight loss coffee, the line begins to form. That message is screaming opportunity. That's something I'd like to know more about. How do I get involved in that? Think of, somebody's telling you about something that that's crazy exciting, having great success with. The normal person is going to think, how could I get involved in that? So think of it that way. But the other thing when communicating in your, especially that initial approach, I always say you want to leave people wanting more, right? Because what happens is somebody will express a little interest. And then what do? Is you just unload on them. I mean, you give them a drink with a fire hose, you give them everything, right? I like to leave people wanting more. And then I like to drip on them with the tools and doing the proper follow-up. But to your story, okay, if you're not having success telling your personal story, work with a member of your upline, tell your story to them, go to somebody you respect in your upline, go to someone who's having success in your upline and share your story. I mean, I was talking to someone, this was probably 6 months ago, actually from my hometown. And this person was in the business through someone else. They've been in the business for quite a while. And they three-way me on with them. And this guy tells me his story. And I'm telling you, it is $1 million story. I mean, the product success that he had blew me away. Okay. And he told me this story, and it was 45 minutes long. He told me this story and I was patient. I sat there and listened to it, and it was 45 minutes long. And he got done, and I just said, wow, that is, an incredible story. I mean, that is $1 million story. But to turn it into $1 million, you need to cut it back to about 2 minutes. Take that 45-minute story and you need to condense it in 3 to 5 minutes. And now, there's all these little details. I went to the doctor and they did this, and then I went back to the doctor and then I tried this and I did this. I mean, what do people care? They want to know, what's the problem? What happened? What was the solution? All of that little stuff that might mean something to you is boring the crap out of the everyday person. They don't have patience for it, right? You have to get to the point. Be excited about it, because that old saying is, it's not what you say as much as it is how you feel about what you say, right? I mean, I joke about it when I first got started and I'm telling my story. I didn't know what I was talking about. And when I was done talking to people, they didn't know what I was talking about, but they could sense and feel my belief and my energy. And so, but shorter is always better, getting that story down, I like to, if you've heard me talk about the feel, felt, found. I almost incorporate the feel, felt, found into my story, right? Where, one of the things I'll just say, again, depending on the person, I was introduced, when I got introduced to network marketing, I thought it was one of those businesses where you make no money and lose your friends. I mean, that was my perception, right? Because we know that's the perception of most people, right? So me bringing that up out front, but what I learned right, is it's the most efficient, effective, fundamental way to bring a product from manufacturer to end-line user. What I learned is it has higher quality products than does retail. Let me tell you why, right? You know, what I've learned is it's probably one of the only opportunities for you, me, the everyday person, to actually have our own business and our extraordinary life without putting our whole life savings on the line or hundreds of thousands of dollars that we don't have or can't get, right? It's one of the only ways you, me, the everyday person can have an extraordinary life and start a small business. So I knew I kind of, once again, went into that answer a little bit deep as well, but I hope you got something out of that.
Yes, thank you very much.
Anything else, guys? Anybody else have any questions? Just take yourself off of mute if you have something you would like to ask me, something you'd want to work on or refine, or something you're doing, you're not having the results that you are looking for, or you want to know if you're doing it right, or if you have something you'd want to share that you're doing really well, that is going well. We'd probably love to hear from you as well.
Hey, John, we have a question from YouTube from Angel.
Okay.
From Ibina. She's asking, if you have to start all over again and knew no one, what is the first thing you would do to grow or to grow your MLM business from scratch?
So you're talking about starting over, and you're talking
Yes.
about starting over within the same company. It sounds like.
And you don't know anyone.
And you don't know one. Well, unless you've been hibernating. Well, I guess we're in COVID. But hey, we all know people. So number one, all those people that you've gone through that said no to you, right? That you feel like you've been working hard and nobody that is interested. You need to work with your upline, and you need to see what's your story, because you're not telling a good story, right? You're not getting. So what happens is, so let's just say, Raphael, you're one of my contacts. I've talked to everybody I know, right? And nobody's interested. So I work on my story a little bit. I get it down, and now I go back to you. And I say, Raphael, I talked to you, I know, like 6 months ago about this business I'm in. I want to apologize because I didn't know what I was talking about. And I understand why you weren't interested, because if I would have heard what I told you, I wouldn't have been interested either. But I do know now. I understand what's going on now. You need to take a look at. So you go back with that. When people say no to you, it just means no, not now. Okay. Everything can change. What can change? Let's think first, why did they say no? Well, maybe the timing wasn't right in their life. Maybe you did a terrible job of sharing it, right? Maybe your belief wasn't where it needed to be and they could sense it or feel it. Maybe, they had, they loved their job and just, no matter what you said or did, they just weren't interested. Well, all of those things can change. I mean, every 90 days, whoever you talk to becomes a new prospect. Every 90 days, somebody you talk to that said no to you is a new prospect, because things change. You get better, right? Your belief might be stronger, so you're going to have a greater impact on them. The person may have lost their job. Maybe something changed in their life where all of a sudden they're open-minded to it. So every 90 days, you literally can go back and talk to all those people that you say, you've gone through everybody. Okay. The other thing, when you tell me you don't know anybody, unless you just got transplanted here from another planet, you know people, right? You know people. You went to school, you've had jobs, you maybe, you have kids, you know other parents. I think people sometimes make the mistake thinking they need to be best friends with people. No, all you need is acquaintances. Maybe you had parents, right? And your parents had friends, and their friends had kids, and you met them at some type of a picnic somewhere or whatever. And I give you a call and say, Raphael, listen, I don't know, our parents are friends, and I don't know if you remember me, but, we were at that picnic that time. And anyway, the reason I'm calling is I found something, and I have no idea if you'd have an interest or not, but you popped into my mind. I wanted to give you a call and check that out. I mean, let me give you a shorter story. hey, there's, in the United States, 350 million people out there. Pick someone, right? I mean, use the 3-foot rule. You can go on Facebook and you can, start messaging people. But again, there's a way of building that rapport. But here's what I've found too. Even if you do everything wrong, you're going to have more success than those that do nothing, right? Even if you're approaching people wrong, even if you're doing everything wrong, if you're doing it, you're going to have more success than someone doing nothing, right? So, so that's, so I guess to your point is, I mean, I would do everything. I mean, I would go back to the people that I've already talked to and tell them why, hey, I talked to you 6 months ago. I talked to you a year ago. Now let me tell you what's going on. I'd be looking on Facebook. I mean, you literally could open up, I don't know if the phone books even exist anymore. I don't know, but you just call someone, and you just start talking and be excited. One of the things that I did, when I was prospecting, I'd always listen to, at the time, that was audio cassettes. I'd be listening before I did my calls and did my prospecting calls. I wanted to raise my energy. I wanted to get things fresh into my mind. I would listen to something. I would watch something to get, to raise my own personal energy and my knowledge and refresh everything in my mind. And then I'd start doing the calls. So kind of a long answer again, but hopefully that helped, think about, what you need to do to relaunch. Is, talk to someone. It does. You just need one person. Then once you get someone in, don't stop, keep filling your pipeline. But when somebody says yes, right, that's not when your job is over. That's when your job begins. Getting that person into their warm market, right? So that person, when you do get that person that says yes, you want to get into their warm market. You want to hold their hand, get with them to get their pipeline full. Because, that's building your business too. And it's getting them off the ground in a hurry. Don't let them sit and smolder and procrastinate for 2 weeks or a month. They say yes, they're excited. Let's get into their warm market. Who can we talk to today? Who can we expose this and call today and tell them what you just became a part of and why you're excited. Okay, we're coming up on 45 minutes, so we're gonna wind this down. If there's any last minute questions, otherwise we'll close this out. Guys, I believe again, March, April, May, 3 of the most powerful months of the year from a building a network marketing standpoint. And I think we should all go back, look at this 90-day window between now and summer. Look at this 90-day window. Let's go back around and let's make another approach. Let's take and put the throttle down. Let's do everything every day, all day long. Let's try to get lift off in your own individual businesses by doing a little bit more, right? Doing a little bit more, talking to a few more people, setting that example. Because here's what I can tell you: when you get that lift off, the inertia of it, the momentum of that is going to continue to grow, and it's going to carry you straight through the summer and into the new year. So, I mean, here we are, March 5th, I'm talking about the new year. But time does move quickly. And when you're busy, it even moves quicker, right? So let's get busy. Let's take advantage of this next 90 days and let's make this happen. So with that, I'll say goodbye. I hope you guys got something out of this. I hope you enjoyed it. And I'm going to stop the recording here. Oh, let's pause.
Bye, Jean.
Bye now. Thanks, guys.
Thank
See
you.
Friday.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank
you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next weekend, everyone.
Thank you.